All right. I think we're live. So hopefully someone out there can just shout out or leave us a little note that let us know that they're out there. So I want to welcome everyone to the first ever Denise Martha Bachman personal live. I've done Cafe I chats. I also do accelerators, but this will be my first one as my personal brand. And I'm so excited to welcome Lee Tunney-Ware as first ever guest. So, welcome, Lee. Welcome all of those that are joining us today. If you aren't with us live, I hope that you'll let us know that you're joining us as team replay. But what we want to do in our session today is really take just a few moments and allow Lee to share a little bit about his upcoming event. And then after he's done that, I'd like to bring it back to why such an event has been so important to me, my journey with Lee over the course of the last year and a half. So we're going to first kick it off with just some quick intros. I am Denise Martha Bachman. I live here in Houston, and you'll see why that's important when Lee shares where he is at on the other side of the world. But I'm here in Houston. I am the founder and owner of Success with AI and my Celevators program. And we're here today, again, just to welcome Lee and allow him to talk a bit about his program and our journey together. And for those of you that are just now joining, make sure you just give us a shout out. Let us know you're there. Tell us what city you're from or where in the world that you're located. And we're going to pass the introduction now over to Lee and allow him to share a little bit about himself. So Lee, on to you.
Thank you, Denise. I'm in Southern Ireland, Westport County, now, far, far away from Denise, about 3,000 miles, I think. So who am I? What do I do? I'm a father of 11, believe it or not. That can be quite shocking sometimes. I'm married to a wonderful woman called Rosalind, but she prefers Ros. And we've been together, I think it's 32 years. Yeah. So that's the personal side. What is it I do? I help people navigate to the future they want by removing, let's say, the inside shackles or baggage of life quickly, easily, effectively, and look for them to upskill on the inside to emotionally play at a high level, so have good internal currency so they can get possibly set their goals on the outside and get up into the areas of life or prestige they want to get to. So I think that sort of covers what I do.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And for those of you that don't know, Lee has this amazing program, and it is the Subconscious Code Breakers that he has hosted now for quite some time. And I'll share a little bit about my personal journey with him and with the program itself. But really, what I'd like to do now, Lee, is have you share a little bit about what your program is, in particular, the new upcoming super workshop. Excuse me, my tongue is twisted. The super workshop to be held on February 17th. So if you could expand on that and give people a little bit of insight into what to expect that day, what the goal is, and how you're going to run that super workshop.
Brilliant. So the workshop is subconscious synergy. It's basically working with what some might call the subconscious self, or I deem sometimes your organic self, and sort of upskilling the inside so it matches with your developed self. We've got a lot of goals or different things we want to achieve, but sometimes we can have that imposter, that enemy within, takes us one step forward, two steps back, the overthinker, the procrastinator, the negative self-talk. So we've got this noise like a loudspeaker in our head putting us down, or we're looking for validation, or there's a lot of conflict going on sometimes because it's not so much what's on the inside. We normally get a mirror image of that on the outside. In many ways, we're starting to get, the people I work with well are people that are starting to get that awareness of, well, I know I could do better, but I'm not sure how. I know something's holding me back. They've done some self-work already, read some books, maybe gone to a couple of courses. And that isn't necessary, but it does help. The reason being is that our developed self is the part that is trying to get beyond the boundaries, that are self-imposed, or our comfort zones. Our comfort zones are getting too tight, too restricting, and they're making us feel overwhelmed, or we're reaching a time in our life where we know we could do a lot better. our family, our circumstances, our job or our career has held us, and we've performed. We've been the provider, we've done the do, we've been the mother, we've been the father, we've done everything we can do, but we don't feel fulfilled. So the workshop subconscious synergy is navigating the emotional landscape, like our internal currency, also our physical landscape. Yeah, you might hear that as in like how we look and our weight, and you can take it there, but the place I go is when we're in that fear, the insecurity, that information that's written on our biology. So we've got the emotional landscape, yeah, as in the hurts and pains of emotional life, and maybe we've got low self-value, low self-esteem, yeah, or that might be high, but then we're pushing too hard. We've got the warrior mindset. The warrior mindset comes from the physical side of us, the push, the dominance, the masculine, yeah, you might call it, but that's where we're quite aggressive with our energy. Nothing wrong with having a strong energy physically, but it's how we mightn't have the emotional intelligence to go with it. So then we're too dominant and not empathetic with it. So it's 5 modalities. So we're going to go through the physical landscape as well. So on the 5 modalities, you'll discover how your combination, the internal combination for life, and how that shows up and affects other people's lives. So in session 1, it's like the 5 modalities. You'll discover those, and they're not something there's something I've named, but they're what all humans do. Mm-hmm. But it's how to put those in an organic way, take them from an organic self to an organized self, a goal-driven self, but an authentic self. So once you've got the idea of the 5 modalities, that's session 1. Then we're going into the emotional landscape. Then we're going into the physical part, overcoming and letting go of some of the shackles of past failures. Because these could be written emotionally, they could be written within our physical energy. And then we're going to move on to 4, which will be cultivating your future. A lot of people, the manifestation, Bob Proctor, well, brilliant, the secret. But one thing I think, in my opinion, they left out was how to de-manifest the future that's calling that you don't want before you manifest the future you do want. So it's the past shackles and our self-value and those fears and the internal doubts, the noise in our head, the way we can't see it, the fog, the lack of clarity, that's all the negative future. So when we go through the cultivating the future, we've already moved some of the baggage, some of the junk, and really quickly in some cases. And then we go into mastering micro moments for future success. That's the gap between your internal world and the external world. It's been able to process in line with your authentic self, in line with your developed self, and not allowing the organic self to be triggered. That's why we start with the emotional landscape. We don't want to be triggered and letting our reputation down, or playing within the parameters of our comfort zones, because when we push against our comfort zones, they actually push back. Mm-hmm. Our inner doubts, fears, and insecurities mold us back, and we've got this internal battle going on to neutralize those and give us. And sometimes, depending on if you've got a lot of baggage or a lot of drama, but you're doing the self-work. Some people go through each memory bit by bit by bit, and that can be a long journey, and it can be soul-destroying. What we're looking to do is get your door out of your comfort zone, straight into your new life, where you can, and you learn as you learn, you learn as you grow. And that's really what we're looking to do on Saturday the 17th. And the investment for it is $100. And it's more getting some skin in the game, yeah? Mm-hmm. We've done the challenges and different things like that. It's having people, are you willing to invest in yourself? Because that's part really of the criteria. Are you willing to invest in yourself? Because then you take it more seriously. And also to get an idea of what it is I do, and obviously the shifts you get. And hopefully you might be interested in being part of the next project or the subconscious accelerator. So really, I think I've covered it, Denise. I don't know. And I know you've been through the process, so I'm open to any questions.
Yeah, so I want to know, have you ever done, I've got a lot of questions. I also want to make sure that I share my story. I took copious notes because I want to make sure that I use some of the exact verbiage that you've used here a second ago so that the audience really understands my journey that I had with you. But I really want to know about more about this workshop in particular, and then we'll come revisit it at the end again before we leave. But tell me, have you ever done a super workshop like this before?
I have. I've done it. I've done it in the real world a couple of times, and I've done it behind the scenes, not in an open format, with certain coaching clients that I have, high-end clients. Because sometimes you need a group dynamic to personal development, even though it's personal development, which means it's isolated, it's on your own. We can play within our comfort zones. When we get into a group environment, and we're not asking you to share all your doubts, fears, and insecurities, we wouldn't have time with that because that's personal to you. So we're not asking, but some people, they're quite, I won't say happy with that, but some people need that. They need it to be aired. Yeah. And obviously everything's done in close quarters. So have I done it before? Yes. That's how come I know how to do these super workshops, because we ironed out all the pieces, worked out the process, which process keystone elements that enable people to get that synergy. The group dynamic absolutely adds, it really adds to it, because it psychologically makes it accountable. It also psychologically, other people witness the transition, and then they're involved in your development. So it's witnessed in a sense. The shifts are witnessed in that 5 day or 5 hour. And what happens is then you get the validation. Yeah. So affirmations, when you get affirmed by another, because that's where affirmations come from, it's being affirmed, it's being realized, it's being like rewarded for that transition. Because if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it actually fall at all? Did it make a sound? When we make these personal transitions, if nobody's there to witness it, do we actually feel we've transitioned? Do we feel that? Did I? And we're like that. When it's in the group environment, it's witnessed. And that way it becomes real. And then we've got a memory. Then we haven't got the noise in our head anymore. And we've got the clarity because we know it happened. It's been witnessed. It was seen. It was heard. So yes, I've done it before, and they're very, very powerful tools.
Yeah, I was actually trying to get us to, I think you do this on a regular basis. So for those that don't know, I'm actually a part of Lee's program, the extended version. So we get together once a week. We spend about an hour and a half. If you add all of those together, we've done multiple workshops, right? Hours and hours and hours. And we do those in a group setting. And what I really get from that, just as a personal, someone who's sitting in the session, is not only do we get validation, but especially those of us who've been together for a bit, we have the opportunity to really hear other perspectives as well. Because sometimes the way you explain it may not resonate with the person that you're explaining it to, but having someone else do the exact same, take your words, put it in theirs, and have them explain also helps. But you're right, it does set aside from confirmation or affirmation, or even ensuring that everyone understands the message that you're trying to get across, is that we actually start to hold one another accountable. In reality, we should not need anyone to hold us accountable. We should be accountable for our own selves. However, it's still nice as you're going through this process to have what I would call an extended family, because this is really, for me, now a 5-day workshop is not going to become your extended family in that one session on February 17th. But what you have is the opportunity to really get to know some people at a much deeper level that you can add value to, that they can add value to you, so that as you are going down this journey of, inner self work, or in my case, it was journey of healing, whatever that journey is for you. You've got a group of individuals to help you not only get through that, make sure that you understand what you're getting, what you're hearing and doing and seeing, but also there to support you and hold you accountable as you start to, in what I would call, elevate, or others might say ascend, or whatever verbiage you'd like to use, as you begin your journey of becoming a better version of yourself. So I love.
Yeah, and it's and I suppose it's just while you were speaking there as well, it's amazing how your mind not wanders, but actually, because some of the words you said there sort of took me back, and how this all started. I mean, if I go back up 30, what we're now, 58, yeah, probably 30 years ago, is one thing that really impacted me as, say, a therapist or a practitioner was I got a call from a doctor one day to and asked me would I be able to help somebody. And this lady he asked me about she was terminally ill. She had weeks or months to live. She did, obviously, that wasn't the area I played in, but I worked with people on developing their inner world and to make the outer world. Yeah, so I was like a hypnotherapist, psychotherapist, NLP practitioner. Yeah, and I was very good at it. I used to train other hypnotherapists and different things like that. So I got quite a good reputation. And this doctor referred me this lady, and it was well out of my comfort zone. And he asked me as a personal favour, would you have a chat with this lady? I think you can help her. She's distraught. In my head, my conclusion was she was distraught because she had weeks and months to live. That wasn't what she was distraught about. She was distraught. She knew she'd accepted that part of it. She was distraught because she had a relationship with her daughter that wasn't very good. They hadn't spoken in like a number of years, and she wanted to put her house in order for her daughter before she left this earth. She didn't want her daughter having the guilt or whatever that she hadn't, I suppose, said goodbye to her mum. But they had a lot of stuff to sort out. So he referred her to me. We sat down, we had a chat, and went through a lot. And then we put a plan in action. And then we put a communication framework in action where it wasn't judgmental, nor was it sympathetic, as in, look, I've got weeks and months to live and need to sort this out, because we didn't want to put the emotional pressure on the daughter. But we transitioned that space phenomenally, and they got a brilliant relationship. And her daughter was actually there when she passed. But before she passed, she was actually in a support group. And all of a sudden, I ended up with, for probably 18 months to 2 years, they were all the clients I was working with, was terminally ill patients. And where it humbled me or taught me the power of a breath and a heartbeat, and how we put off the most important things, or how we attack the most important people. And then we feel like we haven't got support, or they haven't got support. We've got these tarnished or attacked relationships, sometimes with our nearest and dearest, but mostly because we've got this trauma or drama in our past, or some of it we're not even aware of. We haven't got a memory or a thought that actually says why we feel this way. So we were in a reaction response mode. So that was in the UK. I moved from the UK back to Ireland, where I grew up, and the odd person used to fly in, but the group stuff, I've done a lot of group stuff for like probably 2 years, but all heavy stuff, and a lot of triggers, a lot of dramas. So we're used to playing in that space, but what it taught me was the skills to help everyday people that didn't have the end of the world coming or the end of the life coming. And it was big to them, but when you've played in that area and worked in that area for a number of years and had good results, you learn so much from people, because they've got their whole life, they got weeks and months to go. Their whole life becomes wisdom very quick. When the future's gone, their whole life. And also the wisdom you get, I wish I'd done that. If I'd only said that at the time. And their awareness level is so high. So what I've tried to do is take what humbled me and taught me a lot at a very young age, really, in a very unique atmosphere or and take what they taught me and put it into a program to enable people not to have these traumas, these triggers, whether that be in their personal life, their professional life, to get the mask down, to get the imposter gone, to get the enemy within gone, whether it's an inside out job. I say everything you do will come from you. So we start with the inside first, then what is it you want to do on the outside? And get past those comfort zones, those restrictions. So whether that gives sort of a background of where, so I've been in this space and strongly and highly in this space for 30 years. And it took me probably 28 years to develop this, where it was the way I wanted it, where it could transition, where it could move people quickly. And I suppose that where it sort of leads to, because I think you were shocked the first time we met.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, maybe this is where we'll start to share a little bit about my personal journey. But when I first attended your challenge, it wasn't really because I knew who you were. Quite honestly, I had no idea what to expect. I went purely to support Chris. If anyone knows Chris Colt, he really helps other organizations and individuals put these challenges together so that you can fill your pipeline and thereby also share a lot of your wisdom and gain clients. And so I went to support Chris. I go into this session. Now, mind you, up to this point, this was in November of 21. So up to this point, or excuse me, 22, sorry. Up to this point, I had done a lot of the work that you had mentioned. You know, when you talked about the people that you deal with or what you're hoping those that attend the workshop, they're really on this journey of working on their inner self. They've tried other things. They know that they're ready for something. They're ready for a breakthrough. They're ready to find their, live their best version of themselves. I had been going down that path. So I had realized after having been laid off in 2020, I went into this really deep depression. And so in 22, I decided that I needed to really grab hold of that and figure out how to get past that. And so I had started the inner work. I didn't really love the traditional counseling method. I had things that were deep rooted, and, traditional counseling was having to actually relive a lot of those problems. I tried muscle therapy. There are so many different options that are out there that I had attempted. And so when I went to Lee's challenge, I went purely just to go support Chris and did not even realize the impact that it would have on me. But I knew that I needed something better for sure. And so for some reason, Lee and I were DMing, which I didn't know Lee at all, except in the session. And all of a sudden we're DMing, and I don't even know who started or why or what the intent was. But you had asked if I'd come on stage and play full out in the next session. And I said, sure. I had no idea what that meant. And now there's this infamous 5-minute, 17-second video where I really was able to move from one side of my journey of healing, really of the other side of my healing. And it was probably the most remarkable experience that I had ever had, I think. I mean, maybe you can share your perspective from that moment, because what I see is very different than what you see, but maybe you can share a little bit about what you saw.
I was disappointed that it went over 5 minutes, because I said to you, it'd take 5 minutes, and it took 5 minutes and 17 seconds. When I set out the future, that's where we're going, it was going to be 5 minutes and 17 seconds. As an excuse or a reason, there was a couple of glitches on Zoom, and we had to repeat ourselves a couple of times. So I'm medicating with myself, because it should have been 5 minutes. My intention was to go, that's 5 minutes. Where are we? And that's where my end was. But I knew you were ready. I knew, and just by the way you phrase things, and I knew in the DM, and we had very little engagement. I didn't ask you anything, didn't need to know. It's your personal stuff. Why do I need to know your stuff? And that's not saying I'm not interested. I don't like sharing some of my personal stuff, and I'm quite an open guy, but there's stuff that, yeah, I would think twice, and depending on who I share, I'll share it with you. I'm quite, I'll tell you anything about myself, but you and I have got a relationship, if you know what I mean. So I'm quite open, and I think you know that, I'm very transparent. But from my side, I knew you were ready. And I suppose the awkward part from a practitioner side, or somebody in a workshop environment, and knowing you've got the group dynamic, and bear in mind, both of us were vulnerable that day, because I said 5 minutes. And bear in mind, I said it in front of an audience of about 50 or 60 people. If it hadn't have been 5 minutes, that would have ruined my reputation. So I don't say it. I know. And so when you were DMing me, and it wasn't much said at all. But I knew just by the syntax of your language, you were good to go. And that's why I asked you. And you were the only person I asked to play full out in that environment. And when I first met you, first saw you, you were probably on the meeting, but the screen gets full up. I don't know who's on, sort of thing. And that's no disrespect to the people who are on. I can't see everybody. I knew as soon as I heard your voice and the way you were, and if anyone ever gets a chance to see the video, they should see what I mean. I knew you were ready. You were pushing right. Oh, you were pushing hard against your comfort zones, and they wouldn't break. And you were using sheer willpower, sheer emotional strength to push through, to try and get that breakthrough. And that's that. Oh, it's soul destroying. It exhausts you. And because you were right at the gate, all I had to do was open the door. Yeah. Because you've done a lot of the work. That's why I said earlier, it's people who've done the work. They don't have to have done tons. They've just got to be committed to the outcome. And they might be struggling with the self-talk, whatever. But being open to the future, and you were open, and it was easy. It was easy. When you watch it, you see how easy it is. It was a transition. The best part about it for me was when you went, how is that possible? How did that happen? Type of thing. You can see it was written all over your face. How? And it went like that.
And really, that couldn't have come at a better moment, Lee, because if you recall, shortly thereafter, my father, when he actually started the active dying process, and then, I had an opportunity to get there, was able to say goodbye, and then he died shortly thereafter. And for me, that was a very pivotal moment. Without sharing a lot of what my trauma had been, it was a lot associated around my father. So had I not had gotten through that, had that breakthrough moment, I'm not so certain that I could have gotten on the other side of his death without, of course we were sad, and whatever emotion I felt at the moment, that was human nature. You're going to have that. But I could have easily, that spiral that I had already been in prior to, this effort of getting on the other side of my journey of healing, had I not finished, really been pushed over the edge with our experience together, I don't know that I could have easily spiraled much further down when that happened. But because I was able to do that work, and, just a few weeks later, he went into the hospital and then he died, I was so much better prepared than I'd ever been. And it allowed me to really manage those moments that I had, both in the moments there and then after, once we had to go back to real life and had to get back to our everyday activities. And for me, when I started down this journey in 2022, it was really because I was turning 50 shortly that year later on, and which was about the time actually my birthday happened. We did the challenge, my 50th birthday occurred, and then my father. But I have 2 young children who are 9 and 14 still. And I realized that, in all of my years, I've had some amazing years. I have made a lot of money. I've been super happy. But what I realized was, in all of those moments of greatness and happiness, that one little thing could trigger it. And I would then fall into these moments of sadness. And even in 2020, just moments of deep depression, so much so that I self-mutilated, actually, which, that's sharing a lot there, but it tells you the depth at which my depression was. And when I realized that I could no longer be I was not a role model, and I could no longer continue to move down this journey of life, if I didn't try to really get back to a version of myself that was the best version that I could consistently live without these roller coasters, without what we would call micro moments coming in and disrupting. And so for me, it came at a really great and important time in my life. And so now on the other side, it's been really amazing because I've got this community. So we went through the challenge. I joined the 90-day code breaker, and now I belong as part of the community. And I will tell you, I mean, 50 years, I went through 50 years of my life not actually managing to that trauma. So yes, now I've managed to it. Life is grand, but as we all know, it is life. So as I have these other micro moments that creep in, because, I've got 50 years of experience, that were tied to my organic self, that I'm still going to have these moments. So being a part of this group right now still enables me to as well continue to sift through and manage some of those micro moments so that, I continue to live the best version of myself. And those micro moments become just blips, right? And eventually I'm hoping that I don't have micro moments anymore, right? That I'm so far advanced in my develop self that I don't have to manage the micro moments. But we're still 50 years is a long time. It's going to take me a little bit to get to that point, but I'm getting there every day. And I really have the program to thank. But what I think is so even more important that I would love that everyone, if you walk away from this session, the one thing I want to get out and make sure that you leave with is this, other than that the workshop is February 17th, but also that it doesn't really matter whether you want to work through your traumas, and traumas could be, something very small, could be really large. Everyone defines their trauma differently and everyone has their own experiences. But if you don't actually manage to them, while you have these moments of greatness, they are going to seep back in, creep back into your life, and they are going to affect you. You will never see consistent, true success, whatever success is for you. You'll never see that until you do the inner work. And so while I think that you do a phenomenal job with helping us in our businesses as well, if you don't take care of your inner self, you won't see the success in everything else. So for those of you that are out there watching and you're on the fence and you're struggling with success, whatever again success means to you, if you're struggling with those moments of getting those, getting to what you define as success, look at what you might need to do internally within yourself and seek something out. Join us like this program with Lee, this workshop. Be a part of the community. See what it's like to actually get on the other side of your trauma and see the success that you never thought possible, or that you had only thought you could potentially, but that, that my mind shift is not that I can be successful. My mindset now is that I am successful. Once you can get to that point, you all doors open and you will see all of your dreams and all of your wants come to fruition and happen because you've done the inner work to get you to that point where you actually welcome it in. So that was a lot. Sorry.
No, but and so well said, because so many bits you covered there in when we're trying to fight with ourselves, our organic self. Our organic self is trying to serve us. It's a bit like, I suppose, a parent with a child in a sense, let's say. And let's say the child is the organic self and the parent is the developed self. How many times, and bear in mind I'm speaking as a father of 11, so you haven't got any children, I apologise, but it's just a metaphor. You always want the best for your children. I mean, if you're a good parent, let's say, obviously there's bad parents out there, but let's say on the wholesome front that you're a good parent, you want the best from them. But they don't have the awareness. Yeah? And we can't take our life experience and superimpose it on our children and assume they're going to make the same mistakes we're going to make. So we've got to give them some sovereignty and liberty and freedom. At the same time, look to manage micro moments where they get the awareness and they can manage, not manage is the wrong word, where they can be themselves, but safely, where they can develop themselves at a rate that's going to serve them, not a rate where they feel they've got to make their teacher proud or their parents proud. So when you roll that back to the organic self, as in the subconscious and the developed self's the parent. And that conscious self that's got goals and trying to say all the affirmations or do the visualization to talk to the inner child or the organic self, the underdeveloped self, the one we're consciously not happy with. Because it's really not us. and this is where I think it superimposes into the negative, where we can actually be very negative towards ourselves and put too much pressure on ourselves. It's a bit like a bad parent with good intentions trying to get their child to do something, and that's where sheer will. We're forcing ourselves, or we're medicating ourselves in another way. We're on the weight loss journey. We're on the relationship journey. We're on the business journey, and it feels like we're all fragmented. And then as soon as we put focus into one area, it's like we drop the ball in the other. And then as soon as we put focus in that area, we drop the ball in another. It's like we're juggling. Where a good parent, bear in mind the parent being you of your organic self, is to sit down and just be aware of where you are. And what I loved about all the things you said, which was as me as a coach, practitioner, whatever you want to call me, is that you on a live, didn't worry. I used to self-mutilate straight out there, no shame, no guilt, no worried about whether that's your true developed self. Where we've been is where we've been, where we're going is where we're going. But if we get caught with where we've been and we're in the pitfalls of life, or we're literally pumping our tires up and then making them flat again as quick as like beating ourselves up, we can never move forward. We just have this good time there, bad time here, good time. It's like 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. And then as we go on, we start to lose the people around us because we're so scattered all over the place. Or worst case, still, we're trying to manage the micro moments of our emotional state, and we're pushing people away with boundaries or the average of the 5 people, which means even if we ever get to be in our true self under all that pressure, we've got very few around us that, in a sense, that we can feel comfortable with, because they know the organic self. We're no longer that self, and now sometimes we feel shame being in their company. Where you said there about, well, I used to do this to myself. That's true success. That you can sit in your own power, in your own past. It's you. It was your organic self. You haven't beaten yourself up about it. You're happy to share. And that's true power. That's true success, that you can be that comfortable in your own skin, in your own emotions, in your own thoughts, in your own present. That's truly being present and not being in other people's minds worrying what they think of you. And so to me, that is pure success. And that really, just that one statement you said, really puts this course right bang in what it does. So I don't know, there's so many different ways we can message it, but to me, as a practitioner and being involved with you, even though we got the 5 minutes and 17 seconds on record, and that showcases you, and let's say showcases my skill set. But the best bit is that a year on, and I know you've gone through the accelerator as well, that you're able to just be in your own being, and no shame, no guilt, no regret, no pressure. I'm not saying you don't have the mum moments or the dad moments or whatever you want to call it, or the business moments. It's called out life. But we're able not to bounce back. We're not literally juggling anymore, that we can make decisions. And if we get it wrong on a day, we're not putting ourselves down. We actually reflect and go, oh, this is what I need to do. So whether I'm very proud of you. And that, I don't know whether that, hopefully it comes across as respect and not patronisation, because I'm very proud of you that you're that comfortable in you. That's my pride, that you're that at home, which is how you should be. The organic self and the developed self should be one. That's when you have alignment. That's where your 5 modalities, your left brain, your right brain, your heart, your gut, as in your being, and your spirit is all lined up. Then you have integrity. And every part of you is lined up. You have integrity. That's what it calls. You have integrity. When you have integrity, you have intention. When you have intention, you have pure goals, which are wholesome for you, your family. They're not selfish. They're selfless. You think beyond yourself. So, I'm really looking forward to Saturday.
I am too. So I'm hoping that we had an opportunity to really break through with those that are in the audience that are on the fence trying to decide, or you've come for the first time and you're watching and you had no idea that there was a program out there like this 5-hour workshop that Lee is putting on and hosting on February 17th. Either either camp that you might be in, I hope that you at least check us out. There is a link in the notes. I will change that link and actually put a new one in there. But if you go there now, it's in the event information. I'll post it as well. Hit whichever one you hit is fine. Go check out the 5-hour workshop, the super workshop. It is being hosted by Lee Tunney-Ware. It is all about helping you see true success, whatever you define as success in your own life, but it will help you see true success. Get it over that journey of healing or trauma or anger or whatever that journey is that you're marching down right now, so that you can be the best version of yourself. Because invariably, if you are the best version of yourself personally, you will show up that way for your business, for your clients, for your family, and you will then see more success than you had ever imagined, because you're actually living in your true authentic self, in flow, allowing life to just be.
Not only that, you can feel success when you're there, rather than keep going to what's next. There's nothing wrong with going for what's next, better or better thing, bigger or better things, but to actually experience it, that you've actually achieved and not need validation, that you've achieved and not need affirmations, that you can actually sit in your own being and have that sense of pride and belonging and connection. Because being present is being connected. Denise, it's been wonderful being with you, and so proud of you. Looking forward to Saturday.
Same as I. So
you.
make sure you check out the links. The workshop is entitled "Crafting Your Future Self Through Subconscious Empowerment and Mastery." Make sure that you go check out Lee. There's a link to his LinkedIn profile page. Go connect with him and start to see him in his posts and have some conversation with him. Join us on Saturday, February 17th. Even if you can only make it for a little bit of time, come at least for some rather than none at all. And if you want to know how to get involved in a deeper program, you can't make the 17th, then just reach out to Lee. He will most certainly guide you into the various options that you might have. Go out and look for my 15 minutes, a 5-minute, 17-second video if it so interests you. Or if you have questions and you don't want to ask Lee, feel free to ask myself. Chella's out here as well in the audience, so you can reach out to Chella. We are all, as we call, code breakers, and we all have been working with Lee for a while. So again, I look forward to seeing everyone. I appreciate you being here, Lee. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your program. And I thank everyone who's out in the audience, whether you're here live or in the replay. If you are in the replay, leave a hashtag team replay and let us know that you stopped by. Check out the links. I'll update the notes in just a little while, but just hit one of the links. Go register for his event. We want to see you there on the 17th. And we appreciate you taking your time today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise, and thank you, everybody, for watching.
Well, I'm trying to end the stream, so people are going to see.
That's all right.